Hey guys, welcome to the first video here with the Mazda 3. This is the new channel car, my turbo Mazda 3 hatchback. And the first modification we're doing is the Burger Motorsports cold air intake. I'm doing both stage 1 and stage 2. Stage 1 is more of a short ram style with a heat shield. And then the stage 2 is actually routed down into the fender, like you can see here, for some more cold air into the engine. So the first thing I want to show is just how less restrictive the new Burger Motorsports intake is. It's actually got a bigger diameter than the factory pipe, which you can see is really crushed and restricted, especially going between the engine and the battery there. So this is also solid aluminum, which is really nice, with a finished powder coat. And we're going to go ahead and take the factory airbox out and put this new intake in. Alright, so here we're removing the factory airbox, which proved to be really simple. The only difficult part was actually the turbo inlet pipe, which was a really difficult spot to get into actually when bolting the new one on. Then the mass airflow sensor here I'm pulling out of the factory box. You need to be very careful with this. That's a very delicate sensor. On the new CNC Burger Motorsports one, you can see where it says the direction of the airflow. So make sure you get that lined up properly and use the new included hardware when putting this in. It's just a Phillips. And again, make sure you get that direction correct when putting this in. Get it tightened down, but you don't want to crank it too hard because we don't want to torque those screws. And then you can see inside just how big that diameter is with the new mass airflow sensor inside of it. And it looks really good with this kind of gloss finish. Then this is the reducer coupling, because the turbo inlet pipe is actually 2.5 inch going to a 3-inch pipe. But before, we need to put the battery back in because it's impossible to put the new turbo inlet pipe with the battery in place. And then once you just get it clamped back down, straightforward, put the positive on, put the negative on, and you're good to go. One thing I found that I liked with this install is the instructions were really clean and really neat. There wasn't a ton of resources on it, but if you've done one cold air intake, you've done them all. And I've done quite a few on my other vehicles, so this one was pretty easy compared to the other ones, especially if you do just the short ram style. So this is the heat shield included. It's negligible, but it's nice that they included it. If you really look at the temperatures of the air, the heat shield's doing nothing. You know, short rams are just hot air intakes. But you need to put this coupling on. Make sure you put both your clamps on before you start putting this in. And then there's going to be a little bolt you actually put in the battery tray. That's a factory hole that they use to put that bolt in. That was also difficult to put in, but make sure everything is left loose before you tighten down those clamps, put that mass airflow section in and the heat shield. Keep it loose, work it where you need it, and then when you get it into position, you can tighten those clamps down nice and neat. But it was very nice to see that this is actually supported using OEM locations. Then I just put the engine cover on, and we're going to be ready to do some sound clips on the short ram style, also known as the stage 1 intake. Alright, now we're going to be putting in the stage 2 intake, which is down into the fender. You're going to be putting on this coupling that's included. If you had stage 1 done before and want to go to stage 2, you can do that at any time, as it's all the exact same equipment. It's just this downpipe and coupling and 2 clamps that makes it different from the original short ram style. So you can always upgrade it later. Once you put this into that coupling, I didn't tighten it all the way to leave room for adjustment. Now on my Mazda, because it was a lot lower, I had to actually jack up the car and unbolt the lower lip to be able to slide the filter in place and really just feel around to clamp it down. And that was definitely one of the most difficult parts of the install. was getting that clamp on. But here it is down in the engine bay, and it looks really good. Now, one thing I did that the instructions didn't show, that is optional, I don't know if it's good for it or bad, but I put in the ram air scoop back into the engine bay that was originally going into the factory airbox. So now it's just a little ram scoop into that section. It may not be doing much, but I think it's going to help a little bit. And I really like the finished look of it. I think it's really unique. And I've never seen a intake on the market that really routes the cold air filter all the way down by the wheel well. And I think they did a good job.